Happy New Year, everyone. I wanted to talk to you a little bit this month about one of my New Year's resolutions, which is to overcome some of the fears in my life. I think we all carry some things that are fearful. The most common fear I've heard is public speaking, and here I sit behind this camera every month, and to be honest, I procrastinate about it and don't do it perhaps in as timely a manner as I should, but Sherman, who's sitting behind the camera, is very good at persuading me that this is going to be fine. But I wanted to talk about how we deal with the fears in our lives, and maybe to challenge us to move forward with some of those fears and to really think about what it is you're afraid of and why you're afraid of those things. And to think about those things that maybe you've been afraid of in the past, that you've avoided or decided not to go to those places again because of those experiences. I'd like to relate an experience that I've had quite recently. My New Year's resolution was to overcome fear, and I certainly think that when we make resolutions like that, God will bring a challenge to our lives pretty quickly. And I was challenged by a friend who suggested that I go trail riding. I have had in the past some unfortunate experiences with horses, and I'm less than comfortable around them. I'm not saying that I'm not phobic, but certainly sitting on a horse isn't my idea of a bundle of fun. This friend invited me to go trail riding, and I'm thinking, okay, my New Year's resolution certainly pricked my conscience and said, okay, this is probably the challenge that I need in my life, and it's a good idea for me to do this and to try and experience this to see if my past experiences would be repeated. I went trail riding, an hour and a half on a beautiful horse named Skippy, and Skippy was a little Skippy, and I confess I was frightened that after I got off the horse, I recognised that every muscle in my body had tensed and I had a terrible headache. But having said that, was it worth me experiencing that to be able to say, yeah, I did that? And the feeling that I felt after I'd done that, to say, yeah, I did it. I wouldn't say necessarily it was a hugely enjoyable experience, but it wasn't terrible either. And at the end of the day, I said, well, you know what? I would actually do that again. I would try that again, because whilst I'm still not comfortable around horses, I can say that I've overcome that fear. I'm not afraid to be in that situation anymore. And I think sometimes with many things that we reject, things that we do or things that we've done. For example, someone might say, well, I had a bad experience with an online course, and therefore all online courses are bad and I'll never go that route again. Or I had a bad experience with a piece of curriculum, or that wasn't an area like project-based learning or something like that. Our first attempt was terrible, so we reject it and we never go back to that place. And maybe to think about some of those things that you've rejected as definitely places in home learning that you don't want to go, and think, well, why did I do that? What was my rationale for that? And maybe it's time to perhaps do some revisiting and do some exploring and get on a horse and attempt those things. Even just talking to Sherman, who's behind the camera right now, he had some bad experiences in home learning with his own children at schools prior to coming to TLA. And rather than reject that home learning experience, he persevered, and his children are now, I was talking to his daughter this morning, and long-term home learner, and very excited to be in grade 11 and will graduate with TLA. So those experiences that we have that have been failures or that we're afraid of could turn out to actually be the best strengths.